All games want to be good, the absolute best that they can be. Some games decide that the best way to go about doing that is to, well, suck. But in a world where all media is competing for your attention all the time, letting off the gas for even a second can be a death sentence. So why? Why would a game decide to be bad? And why am I interested in that decision enough to make a YouTube video about it? Well, it's a way to create a stronger emotional response. It changes things up dramatically. It can create tension and allow for a release. It makes you appreciate what you had before or will have after it, and it widens the overall range of feelings a game can make you have, and more importantly, it really signals that the game knows that it has its hooks in you. Here, let me give you a perfect example of that. NieR Automata. If there's one thing you know about NieR Automata, it's that it has multiple endings. Okay, no, it's 2B's very cool butt, but if there's two things you know about NieR Automata, it's that whole thing about the endings. That's kind of a lie. A little lie designed to hide the game's most shocking moment from you. Now, if you don't know what I mean, warning, I am about to spoil the shit out of this game, okay? 2B dies. When and how it happens hits you like a load of bricks. Route B is the deception. It's the only time you actually replay anything, and it's the gate that hides this game's biggest secret. This NieR Automata disc, it's just got all of NieR Automata 2 on there. It's got a new threat, and a new protagonist, and a new set of intro credits, and a new title card to go with it. Out with the old and in with the new. The final moments that you play as 2B are miserable. She's barely holding on. You must slowly limp your way across the majority of the map without any of your movement skills and while you are constantly interrupted by malfunctions. To make matters worse, there is a giant hole in the middle of your path. It is a literal pitfall, and falling down there is a disaster. Given the hindrances to your movement, odds are you'll just struggle meaninglessly until you finally die and have to start this section over. But every once in a while, something shakes loose and you have a couple seconds of the old 2B. It's a brief reprieve and just enough hope to hold on to. Those jumps that have been impossible are suddenly as easy as they used to be. Maybe you can do this. Maybe she will make it through. She won't. There's no ending where she does. That small hope gets extinguished. This section succeeds in making you feel a lot of things, and none of them are fun. You probably feel more like you struggle, you suffer, you feel that despair no matter how hard you try. It's what 2B is going through, and it's what NieR Automata wants you to feel too. And that's really what I mean when I say I love when games dare to be unfun. It's incredibly purposeful and can be used to create a greater connection between the game, the characters, and the player. That connection doesn't have to be sad or miserable. I think it's easiest to understand what I mean in that case, but I want to be very clear that it does extend beyond that. It's really just about getting into the character's shoes. Let's take Trails in the Sky SC for example. That's SC, second chapter. It's a sequel. I'm not talking about the same game 2 videos in a row. Besides, it's a perfect example, so please just follow along with me on this one. And I promise to be briefer this time. This is still spoilers though. This happens in the game's penultimate chapter, and I will be describing a major event and how it is dealt with. I'll do my best to avoid any context of the rest of what's going on, but you've been warned. The only real background you need is that the world of Trails is in the middle of an unprecedented technological revolution spurred on by a new infinite energy source that has allowed them to go from horses to airships in just a few years. As such, things aren't necessarily being invented in the same order they have been for us, but either way, the people of the world have become very reliant on this technology very quickly. So, what do you do if you're a bad guy? You turn it all off. What is essentially a big EMP knocks it all out. All that new technology, the new ways of life, all those cool magic attacks that you do, gone. Poor little Tita here can't even shoot anyone with her giant cannon. Luckily, your cool scientist friend invents a way to get it working again. Simply slot this new device into your accessories and you're back to doing all of that fun stuff. And it's perfect. You have 4 of them, one for every combatant. Except, we aren't selfish warriors, we're heroes, dedicated to protecting others, and there are others who could use these more than we could. Our goals are more noble. We will take one of these to each of the kingdom's major cities so that we can restore communications and help plan an emergency response. Now, we're also not stupid, and it would be frankly irresponsible not to use these things while we have them. But every time we arrive at a new city, we gotta give one up. The longer this trek back through the kingdom goes, the more characters are gonna have to give up their moves. At first, it's easy, just give up Jin's. He just punches stuff anyway, who cares? But the longer this section goes on, the more you are giving up access to important abilities. The more you are sacrificing for the good of all, the harder it's becoming for our individuals. But that's what Estelle and crew would do, because that's what heroes would do. You feel that altruism and you feel that self-sacrifice. This section is long and it is tedious, but taking on that risk for the sake of others and pushing through is the core of who these characters are and what this story is about, and the game is letting you feel that right alongside them. Now, I've been talking about how good and cool all of this is, but I also want to be very clear about just how risky this can be for a game. People don't like games that suck. Okay, well, I do, but I'm clearly the weird one here. So for most people, deciding to make your game unfun can really backfire. You gotta be very sure they're ready to stick around for what is probably an intentionally frustrating section. It's time to talk about Final Fantasy XV's most infamous chapter. Now, I really like this chapter, but a lot of people, especially at launch, really didn't. So Square Enix has updated it. They released a patch to make a lot of this stuff move a little bit quicker. So keep that in mind, because all of the gameplay has been captured after that patch. But all the greater points still stand. In Chapter 13, Noctis is unable to use any of his regular powers, and more importantly, he's separated from his friends. They've been covering his weaknesses this whole game, and not just in combat, they've been cooking him meals and driving him around. But it's finally time for our little baby bird to leave the nest and learn to stand on his own. It's time for him to embrace his birthright and adorn the ring given to him by his father and his father before him, passed down through generations of his royal bloodline. If he can harness its power, he can make it through this.
The time has come.
This ring contains incredible magic, namely the spell Death, which will evaporate your enemies. Sounds cool, right? Kinda. It unfortunately comes with a lengthy channel time while it drains the HP out of your enemies. It's almost really cool, but it's the only offensive capability you've got. All of those previous plans and strategies are out the window. There are no decisions to make, it's what you have to do. I still think just about everything about this is really cool. The themes make sense, the story makes sense, the character is making strides, and the stakes are really high. It's just that the gameplay's fucking boring. You slowly stumble around, I guess a little bit faster now that it's patched, and then you just hold a button down and evaporate anything you come across. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but the vibe of the time was definitely that Final Fantasy XV was a big disappointment. It was originally announced as Final Fantasy Versus 13 a full decade before it eventually released as Final Fantasy XV, and as such it had an incredibly long time to build up hype. It had several, honestly, unbelievably spectacular trailers, and rumors buzzed the whole time, and the expectations were just through the roof. Then it released and was fine. I liked it, but I felt like the exception. Most liked the art, some liked the gameplay, the characters were charming and the vibes were jolly, but it just felt incomplete. Disjointed. It asked you to watch this weird movie before going in. Then Square spent the next 3 years patching it and adding DLC to fill in missing pieces. It was weird. People tried it out for plenty of reasons, either the aforementioned characters or art, or just the Final Fantasy name itself. There were plenty of reasons to buy in, but none of them seemed to be there for a slow, drawn-out, helpless ring section. Except for me. That's my favorite part of the whole game, but this video only exists because I'm a little bit of a freak. I do still think the game's worth trying if you're interested at all. There's always been stuff to love. It's why I love it. But like, maybe bail before Chapter 13 if you're not feeling it. I don't think this risk really paid off for very many people. Well, gee whiz, it sure seems risky to make your game slow and tedious and reliant only on simple tools that aren't intrinsically fun to use. But hey, I can't imagine any game would want to try that for very long. Okay, well, maybe there's one game that would be crazy enough to try that. If you don't already know what Death Stranding's whole deal is, I'm not going to be able to explain that to you here. If you were hoping for a plot summary to catch you up for Death Stranding 2, then you probably want to click on one of those 4-hour videos instead. Hopefully, the approximately 10 minutes of me talking about completely unrelated games from an incredibly niche perspective clued you into that. Instead, we're going to focus on what the minute-to-minute gameplay is like, instead of trying to explain like this.
We got doomed, Sam.
So what is the gameplay like? It's about walking around and carrying some big old boxes while you do it. That's it. It's a literal walking simulator. It's not just holding forward on the control stick to walk. You're holding the trigger buttons to shift your balance left or right. It's about scanning the environment for any stray little pebbles that might cause you to trip and fall. And it's about overcoming larger obstacles. A cliff, a mountain, a river, a canyon. They're all boss fights to navigate. The game gives you the tools to overcome them, namely ropes and ladders. They're incredibly useful tools, but they have their own drawbacks. Ladders are only so tall and can only reach cliffs so high or cross rivers so wide. And ropes are just ropes. They're not grappling hooks. You have to stake them into the ground and then you can use them to descend. You can climb an existing rope, but that only helps you on paths you've already navigated before. Hey wujak, that sounds really fucking dumb. I thought this video was about good games. Don't worry, dear hypothetical strawman commenter, it is. Here's the piece of the puzzle that brings it all together. The thing that makes Death Stranding special. When you place one of your structures, it's pushed to an online server, and then it can appear in other players' games. The reverse is also true. Sometimes when you're walking around, you'll come across a structure left by some other player who was there before you were. And when you do, all of that struggle and tension will transform into a sincere and a genuine gratefulness for some rope left behind by some player that you've never seen and that you'll never meet. Suddenly all of Kojima's sticks and rope talk makes sense, at least for me and the other people that this worked on. The slow build up, the denial of pleasure longer and longer until that eventual sweet release. It's not for everyone, but some people are really into it. Wonder if there's a word for that. That release makes it all worth it. The joy of having somebody else help you or knowing that you're helping somebody else in the world. It's not a feeling you get a lot in gaming, especially single player games and extra especially in such an impersonal way. As you get more used to it, those stressful walks full of worry and tripping become relaxing strolls because you know people out there have your back. The artifacts they've left behind let you know that your path has been carved before and that you can make it through too. Anytime you spend any of your resources, it's more impactful. You aren't just using a ladder so that you can climb this rock, you are leaving behind a ladder so that all of the porters that come after you can also climb this rock. A harsh and unforgiving world is made conquerable through the collaboration of millions. It's a satisfaction you would never get to experience if the game decided it just wanted to be fun all the time. Because everything always takes me much longer to work on than I expect, Death Stranding 2 released while I was editing this, and I'm happy to report that that philosophy is still very much alive. And that's what I want from games. I want them to take risks. I want them to show me things I've never seen before, or to feel things that I've never felt before, or feel them harder than I've ever felt them before, or to experience things that I've never experienced before. And none of those are things that they could have accomplished if they hadn't decided that it was okay to suck sometimes. Hopefully this video can help you appreciate some of those less fun moments of games. If you thought of any while you were watching, leave a comment and let me know. I would love to see more examples of this. Like and subscribe while you're at it. If you're interested, there's some free behind the scenes for this video on Patreon, as well as the ability to support me like these fine folks. And if you aren't interested in any of that kind of engagement bait stuff, I still want to give you a sincere thank you for sticking around and watching this video. It means a lot to me. All right, goodbye.